And we're live. Welcome back to Tech Ops. I'm Greg. I'm here with Eric.
Howdy, howdy.
And today, you got so close to that microphone. I was
See?
to get that close for a long time. And you did it. And we have Ryan Bearclaw.
Baron Claw here.
Strategic Sentinel, most people know him as. But no, we're not going to do the sponsor first.
No?
No, we're going to wait.
No.
We lose all our audience when we do our sponsor.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so, but we'll just introduce Ryan. So Ryan's here. He's actually in-house, our first in-house guest ever for the show, which we plan on doing a lot more with the new studio that we have coming up. And Ryan lives, relatively close enough to drive here, so we have him here for the show. And thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. We had a cool couple of days, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've been to the air show.
Media passes, all that.
Yeah, we went and shot some guns today.
Whoa. Pew-pews.
So pew-pews, I guess.
Pew-pews.
Yes, we shot things with things. However you want to talk.
Yeah.
However we don't get demonetized. And
They're a little late for that now.
yeah, probably.
Drank some whiskey. What else? Did some tequila shots. I'm surprised we can say that, but we can't talk about pew-pews.
Yeah.
That's true.
Anyway, we had a fun weekend, and unfortunately he has to head out here, so this might be a little shorter episode than we would like, but they got a long drive back.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go into our sponsor. I think people will say, are you guys going to stay with us if we do our sponsor real quick?
There you go.
Please. Commando Store. Commando is spelled with a K. Store.com. You get 5% off. Use our coupon code TechOps when you check out. They get 5% off. They got a whole bunch of just crazy stuff on here. So right now they're moving. They're moving warehouses to another location, and they're liquidating a whole bunch of stuff right now. So you can get a lot of good deals on there. They have this Ivan's boot balls, and I haven't even read it yet. So hypothetically, let's say we're moving to a warehouse full of military surplus. Yeah. So I think they're getting rid of these boots at a real low price, like real low price, because they don't want to have to move them and transport them. What else do they got?
Yeah.
They have crazy stuff on here.
Yeah.
All the time, right?
Yeah, their warehouse is in a pretty bad area for all the riots, so I think they're trying to get out of there. They haven't told me specifically, we haven't talked to them about it, but I'm assuming they're trying to really get out of there.
Ryan, are you getting a percentage of this? Bear Claw?
Yeah, well, I just noticed you had some there on your desk.
I do. I have them right here. I bought one myself. Oh, I'm too quiet? Okay. All right. So anyway, Commando Store. Commando is spelled with a K. Store.com. Again, coupon code is TechOps. All right, Ryan. What do we have to talk about today?
Well, we're going to start off with some talk about hypersonics. Sounds like it's the big to do.
Super duper topic.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
a super duper topic.
Super duper topic.
5 to 7 times faster.
5 to 7. Right?
Yeah, supposedly, right? We were just playing around on Twitter, just talking about what we were going to talk about for the show, and not even 10 minutes ago, we get a tweet from Steve Herman saying that, quoting the president, saying that the U.S. military's hypersonic super dupers go 5 to 7 times faster than the fastest missiles in the world, according to POTUS.
So, technically, aren't the fastest missiles in the world ballistic missiles, which reach suborbital speeds?
Right.
So,
Mach 20 at least.
just for some knowledge drop here, to reach orbit, you have to be going at such and such speed, not such and such altitude.
17,500 miles per hour.
Therefore, if they go 5 to 7 times faster than the fastest missile in the world, they're leaving the gravitational pull of the Earth.
They're going to the moon.
Right.
They're going into sun-synchronous orbit. They're going
Oh,
out.
Yeah, they're going out.
They're going out.
Right.
Do the math real quick.
We could probably do the math.
So, if a ballistic missile, this is going to be boring. You guys talk, and I'll do the math here. Mach.
So for those who don't know, I'm a flight instructor. I teach people how to fly. So I'm a little knowledgeable on the issues of flight.
Okay.
So we talk about, we joke around with the super duper. We're talking about the super duper missile that the president keeps talking about, which, I guess there's been sort of a question. We just assume it's hypersonics, but it could be, I don't know what he keeps talking about.
It's
really confusing.
Hypersonic is anything 5 times the speed of sound.
Right, five times the speed of sound or faster, which is how many miles per hour? We're talking
It's
like
around 4,000.
4,000 miles per
Something like
hour.
that.
So
I just talked about it in the video.
So like a ballistic missile, it shoots up into the atmosphere like a space rocket, like a Falcon 9, but except for circularizing its orbit and staying in space, it just comes right back down onto whatever its target is. And,
Right.
and they get up to very fast speeds. I'm not actually sure how fast they get, but not quite fast enough to reach orbit. But they do go into space.
Yeah, just like the regular ballistic missiles do.
Yeah,
Right.
and then the difference here, I have a cool image here, as you can see. So the ballistic missiles, it just flies on a ballistic trajectory, right? It'll go way, way, way up, like higher than the space station, higher than all that. It'll get up to like 800, 900 miles in altitude, and then fall back down. That's it. Where the hypersonic ones will actually kind of skim through the atmosphere, just kind of coast along the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that makes them harder to detect, because as you can see here in this image, the horizon will not allow you to detect it until it's pretty close. Compared to a ballistic missile, you can still detect it while it's still going up. And that gives you a lot more time to prepare. And then also with the ballistic trajectory, you can kind of calculate where it's going to come down and know what it's going to do. Whereas with these can maneuver.
Right.
So you don't even know if you're going to be the target or not.
And think about it in terms of, this is why hypersonics are kind of harder, because when we talk about quote-unquote hypersonics, we're talking about a vehicle which flies through the air at a high altitude, but nonetheless air. So as you fly through the air, you get atmospheric heating on your
Right.
material. So you need a material that can survive all of that hot air, all that the hotness that comes from going that fast inside the atmosphere. So
I guess my question is too, if you look at the trajectory, so it's going so far out of the atmosphere that it can almost save fuel, right? The higher you get, the less fuel you burn. This thing's just skirting off the bottom of the earth, right? Where it's going to have to burn a lot more fuel.
and it's got to push through all that because the atmosphere is thick, right?
Right.
So you got to push through all that atmosphere. But the rocket just has to take it up into space, and the Minuteman III is it's a 3-stage weapon or
Right.
4-stage weapon, 3-stage weapon.
3-stage, yeah.
So it's got a boost phase, then it's got like almost like a targeting circularization phase, and then it's got like a another sort of get it to the correct altitude, and then it puts it there on the target. So that's why we've had these ballistic missiles for 50 years. The reason why we haven't had hypersonics is there hasn't been really a reason to develop the technology that it can work.
What is the height that it's actually saying it's flying at? I can't really see.
It doesn't say. It's just a representation. But I know a lot of ballistic missile ICBMs will get up to, like I said, 800, 900, 1,000 miles
Right.
altitude. Compared to the International Space Station, I think it's 250.
2 to 4, something like that, in
Yeah, I
that
think it's
range
400
somewhere.
kilometers.
400 kilometers, okay, yeah,
About
something like that.
250 miles.
So in space, technically, is anything above 100 kilometers. That's the Kármán line.
Right, 66 miles or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, hypersonics. The way I kind of put it is, this is the new missile gap. Everybody keeps talking about hypersonics. That might also have to do with the fact that companies such as Lockheed Martin want to sell their products.
Yeah.
But it seems like, at least in our circles, hypersonics have become the thing everybody talks about. But is it really that groundbreaking? Is it really that big a deal? What do you guys think?
Well, I think, with anything, price attrition is real big, right? You price it so high that you can't have your enemies make it, right? Or sustain it. If you've got, like we do with Tomahawks, we have so many, I can't even, compared to hypersonics, we have none. But if we get to the point where we've got 100 of them and our enemies have 1, 2, we still get that big gap like we have with ballistic missiles with North Korea, right? Because nobody can pay for that infrastructure to build this entire new weapon, right? And maybe they have to steal the technology, I don't know. But there are obviously some countries can research it and develop it, but...
Well, and the U.S. in particular hasn't really talked too much about hypersonics. The country that's talked most about hypersonics really is Russia.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Do you think that's just a bunch of banter, or do you think China and Russia are really ahead of the United States? Because think about back to the missile gap. There was this big to-do about the Russians are building more missiles than we are. They're better than we are. We need to build missiles. But in reality, they had as many or fewer and weren't really as good, or were just as good as the missiles we were producing. So is it similar to that, or are they really eclipsing us?
So, yeah, you hear it a lot, but I don't know if you've heard of this one, the X-51.
It's like a
It's a hypersonic cruise missile the U.S. was messing around with 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's just and it failed, right? It came apart over California, right?
I think 1 or 2 of the flights did work. There were some failures. But, anyway, yeah, the U.S. was doing it a while ago.
But how
they
hard...
just had no need for it.
Right. How hard were they pursuing the technology?
Exactly.
Because
they
again,
weren't getting money. The funding wasn't there.
it goes back to we know how to go to space.
Right.
We're proving that every day we know how to go to space. But what is difficult about these weapons is having a material that can withstand the temperatures that occur when these vehicles are going through the atmosphere at such a high speed.
Right.
That was a limiting factor on the SR-71. Was the skin on the outside of the SR-71 couldn't take the temperature. It could go a little bit faster, I think. Now, of course, somebody who knows a little bit more about the SR-71 might be able to correct me, but I do believe it was temperature limiting and not engine limited.
I'm not sure. That's interesting, though.
So it's the same kind of deal, and it's expensive.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, there's a major advantage, though. Again, going back to this picture here, you're not going to detect it until it's almost too late.
Well, the other thing is it's harder to shoot down,
It's very
and it could maneuver
yes.
like a cruise missile.
And again, yeah, you don't even know what the target is. It might
Right.
be you. It might be the air base next to
Yeah.
you or anything.
Yeah, like a ballistic missile is kind of a dumb vehicle. It goes up, it comes down. It can maneuver a little bit.
So it gives them all like the advantages of the cruise missile with the advantages of
Of
the
a ballistic missile, basically.
With the speeds, yeah.
Yeah.
Cruise missile with speed.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, it flies in this weird kind of zone between aircraft and ballistic missile. When they're flying in the upper atmosphere, it's hard to get to that.
I just noticed on your diagram here, it actually says that they're keeping the vehicle below 100 kilometers, so they're actually not taking it to space. You could probably fly that vehicle up in the upper reaches of the atmosphere above 100 kilometers. You're still technically in the atmosphere, even though this diagram doesn't quite put it that way. You're actually still in parts of the atmosphere at 100 kilometers.
Right.
But I guess they're keeping it even lower. So the lower it is, the faster it goes, the more the heat. So
And the more fuel. I mean, yeah, just more everything, right?
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think this is accurate. I think they actually
It probably
said they pulled this
isn't.
from the economist.
yeah, it probably is not
'Cause
accurate.
they say it's a glider, and a glider, it's going to slowly run out of speed, right?
At some point, yeah.
Right. You're eventually going to fall back down to Earth. This shows it like just maintaining perfect altitude over like a quarter of the Earth.
I think when they say
No
hypersonic
losses.
glider trajectory, when they say hypersonic glide vehicle, I think the term glider and non-powered, I don't think they're interchangeable in that instance there. I think it's
You think they're talking about gliding across the top of the atmosphere?
I think it's
That's
more
what it
so,
means?
yeah, something like that. Because the other word they could have used was hypersonic missile, but they didn't want to because it flies like an airplane. Therefore, they used the word glider. So I don't think it actually is gliding as in a sailplane.
I think a more
Yeah.
accurate depiction would be kind of like this. It would start up higher, then start to fall back down, and maybe skip back up again, and then
Yeah,
fall back down.
my guess on an actual trajectory for a hypersonic is actually riding somewhere around 100 kilometers, not that low. Because
Right.
if it was that low, that line has it somewhere like between, I don't know,
50,
30, 50 kilometers. Yeah, to me that would be too low for a hypersonic vehicle. It would just burn up. It couldn't go, or it wouldn't be able to reach the speed that it wanted to reach. Period.
Right.
But there's a lot going on. We've seen the tests, right?
Yeah, the Zircon Missile in Russia. So again, what do you guys think of this? Is this something that we really need to pay attention? Is this the new thing, and then for the next 10 years that everybody's going to be focused on, or?
I mean, it's an arms race, right? It's kind of what you have to do.
It
Yeah.
gives you such an advantage, I think, over the others. You're going to get there quick.
Well, who do we think is going to come out on top of this? We got three players basically, right? Russia, China, and the United States. Who do you think is ahead right now?
If the U.S. takes it seriously, I think them.
Yeah, I think the U.S.
Then maybe
will.
China.
I don't think
And
China's
maybe
been
Russia.
focusing on that. I think they've been focusing on drones. They've been focusing on their
Aircraft
fishing
carriers.
militia.
Aircraft
Yeah.
carriers, yeah.
Militia,
that stuff.
and then the
They're
aircraft.
trying to do
carriers.
everything at one time.
Right.
Yeah,
trying to
they're,
catch up.
the Chinese they're very methodical though, so I think they're kind of they like to be silent about their things. Russia will show you something if it wants to make some sort of impact, and the U.S. the media just releases everything anyway. So
Right.
Yeah, that was a cool thing about the air show too, right? I don't think you weren't there 2 days ago, but we met with the PAO of the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, any questions you have, just email me. Go up and ask them anything you want."
Yeah, they were
I
super
can't
cool.
imagine you could do that in Russia, and I know you certainly couldn't do that in China.
No.
She gave me her card and everything. Yeah, man,
Yeah,
she was
they
super
don't care.
cool.
So
Yeah, and we were just walking around playing with the Thunderbirds like they didn't care. We were just up there. I mean, we could reach out and touch them basically. I mean, they were super cool about everything.
so you guys think Russia's on the top right now with
No.
what they got?
No.
Because again, did I show you this? I think I showed this to you yesterday. This is the actual official footage they released.
Which is obviously
They show a bunker here, right? It's a bunker.
yeah, totally.
And then I think I can hit E to go frame by frame. And now it's a building.
It's completely
Yeah.
different. Yeah,
It's
it
a
looks
completely
so
different scene.
stupid.
And if
It's
you-
almost
if
like they
you
were
watched
trying.
it real quick, you might not catch it, right?
Right.
Maybe you wouldn't catch
It's
that.
like they
you
were
could-
trying to be bad.
You can tell the bunker is like Photoshop too, because it's like you can see how they did some like really bad blending.
Well, I'm sure, Eric, or Ryan, you've seen a lot of footage.
See all the
from,
bad blending in it? Oh, it's so bad.
From like Yemen and all that, right?
Oh, sure.
And when they released footage of them launching cruise missiles or launching
Yeah.
ballistic missiles, they blurred out all the surroundings, right?
Right.
They only showed exactly where the missile was taken off. And it
Yeah.
kind of looks like they did that here. But there definitely is some Photoshop work here. They did that same repeated pattern
Yeah, over and
over
over.
and over again here. You can see that a little bit throughout
You
it.
can't see any of the background. It looks like some cloudy day, and then all of a sudden it's like not cloudy anymore, and you can see the
It's a building.
grass.
Oh, man. So anyway, it's going to be an interesting thing to follow, I think, going forward.
Yeah, but that's what's pushing the arms race right now when it comes to like I don't want to say cruise missiles, but missiles I guess now that cruise or however you want to call this shit. I mean we're not pushing ballistic missiles anymore, which is kind of odd. Everybody's kind of shifting their focus from building nukes to I guess building hypersonic nukes. I guess you could put a nuke on one if you really wanted to.
So here, Quantum Potato asked, what exactly is the difference between defeating a hypersonic missile detected at 50 kilometers and defeating a hypersonic missile aircraft at 8 kilometers? Well, the higher it's flying, the earlier you're going to be able to detect it because of the curve of the Earth, just like you see in this picture. The higher up it is, you're going to see it a lot earlier. The lower it is, you're not going to see it until it's too late, until it's right up and over you.
Yeah.
And also, if it can maneuver, unlike just a simple RV that's coming off of a ballistic missile, then it has a better chance of surviving.
Yeah.
You know
Make it
what?
unpredictable.
What do you think the odds are that Aegis can lock in on something like this if it's flying high enough that they could pick it up?
I don't know if SM3 can do it. You know a little bit about SM3. I don't think it could do it. XM3 is exo-atmospheric kill vehicle.
Yeah, and it's more target you would have to go through a lot of iterations, I think, to be able to train it to go after a hypersonic vehicle, because it'd probably have to be a new software system at least.
Yeah.
It'd have to be able to track it. I'm sure the SM3 tracks in real time, but it would have to be able to do high G maneuvers all the time instead of just boosting up to the vehicle and
Right,
then
and
doing
getting in
maneuvers.
front of it.
Yeah,
Just
and
get
doing
right in
maneuvers
front of
right at the last second. It would have to be able to sustain high G maneuvers for several minutes of flight to be able to track a hypersonic glider that is moving around.
And that's what the SM6 is. The SM6s were against aircraft.
So
So it's a lot more maneuverable.
yeah, it would have to be probably a whole new missile suite.
Yeah. SM8?
Potentially.
SM9?
I mean, they're taking out satellites now. I mean, it's not out of their league. They could pull some shit
but
off.
satellites can't maneuver too much. Not quickly, at
Yeah,
least.
fair enough.
I would imagine that Raytheon is working hard to train Aegis to learn how to deal with vehicles like these. I could only imagine.
Yeah, they talked about building the THAAD ER,
Yeah.
which would deal with hypersonic threats specifically, but they haven't done that yet. It's just basically how much money you want to spend.
Well, really, and that itself is actually still in its infancy. Even though it's been around for a while,
Yeah.
it's still not mass deployed.
It's expensive.
It very
You know,
is.
Each interceptor
Very.
is $11 million.
Very expensive.
$11 million for each
Yeah.
one of those, and each one carries 4 or 8, usually 8. But
Could possibly save 11 million people, right? If you hit the right
possibly
hit the right target. It's how you sell it, right? How you sell it to the people.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
all
yeah.
just how much you want to spend.
Man, it's so expensive. It's
Where,
just
where your where your budgeting priorities are. For the
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
It's impressive, just like how much the Tomahawk cost when I was in, which was 12 years ago, compared to how much it costs now. It's almost 3 times the price.
What is it right now? Is 1.6 million per shot? Per
No,
missile?
I think
they're-
it's more than that.
Yeah, they're
It's
up to
more
like
than that?
almost. They're almost up to 3
3.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're pushing close
crazy.
to 3.
They just keep going up.
Yeah, pushing. You gotta. You know, it's like medical care in the United States. You can just drive it up if you can sell it and market it, right? Save people's lives with it.
Yeah.
You know, national
It's
security.
essential, yeah. There's no competition, all that. Charge whatever you want.
Yeah.
The other one going on, the other hot topic is Azerbaijan.
Yeah. So, and I just tweeted this out actually. A new ceasefire was just implemented in Nagorno-Karabakh, which is where they're fighting right now. They're fighting over this region that's being administered by Armenia, but is world recognized as Azerbaijan territory. That's
Yeah.
what this whole conflict is about. Is mainly about Nagorno-Karabakh, and it's also about other countries interfering, but
Right.
mainly this region between the two countries.
Right, and so just to back up a little bit, and I'm going to have to call out Binkov because he helped me out a little bit with trying to understand the two countries and the actual like how much assets they have and how much military power they have. If you haven't seen that video, it's really good. He does a comparison video of the two, but this popped off about 2 weeks ago. Just to give a background of it,
2-3 weeks ago, something
so
like that.
yeah, so this popped up about 2-3 weeks ago. They've always had some spats here and there.
They fought a war before,
Right?
And quite a bloody war too. They've always been at each other's throats. They've not, even in the days back when the Soviet Union was still around, and the Soviet Union is partially, if not almost fully responsible for the way that these two countries act towards each other with different policies that the Soviets had in place. But they've always had issues between each other, which really started to spark off when Armenia annexed Nagorno-Karabakh.
Where is that?
It's
down here, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere. It might not show up on Google Earth. I'm not sure, since, like I said, the UN says that it's part of Azerbaijan, so it might show up as part of the country in Azerbaijan. Not sure.
I know it's down here somewhere,
But yeah, and so it popped off, and they're actually shooting artillery at each other. It's getting pretty hot over there.
and they're using a lot of drones too, right?
A lot of drones,
That's interesting.
which has sparked an interesting topic. Is this how the futures of wars in the 21st century going to look? Is it going to be just a bunch of drones?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we're getting so cheap now, right?
Oh,
So you
yeah.
can launch just tons and tons.
I think the biggest deal, though, with Armenia and Azerbaijan is who's backing who. So Armenia and Turkey have always had bad blood. There was going back almost a whole century, they've had bad blood. They're currently funding and supplying Azerbaijan, whereas Russia is funding and supplying Armenia. And I think Iran funds and supplies Armenia a little bit as well.
Yeah. Let's see. So we want to talk about drones a little bit. China showed off. Have you seen this yet?
I have not.
Ooh, these are pretty cool. Let me open them all up.
Little drones that launch out of an MLRS.
Yeah. Look
Yeah,
at that.
suicide drones, right?
Just launch like 50 of them at a time. Just launch them out into the battlefield. I mean, they probably don't have very long range. They don't look like they have very long range, right?
No.
But you put a little suicide, you can put maybe a little bomb in there, and they can also collect intelligence in real time.
Right.
Launch 50 of them out over a battlefield. Because I think there's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, that's the thing, right?
48.
We haven't seen real swarm technology put on the battlefield. We've seen drones, but we haven't seen 500 drones out there at one time.
Yeah,
pushing
combat style, right?
Yeah, pushing some kind of crazy, reconnaissance. Think about like Batman Begins, right? When he has I think it was Batman Begins, when everybody has that thing on their phone and he can scan everybody around him.
Yeah.
So now
It's like
Batman,
sonar, pretty much.
yeah. So now Batman knows where everything is at all times. But if you have drones up there over like an actual battlefield, like they have going on now in Armenia, it could be a huge deal, right? Now you can see the entire battlefield, especially if you have an infrastructure and a system that can actually put all that data together.
Oh yeah.
And
And
drive
it's a
it.
lot cheaper than satellites too, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of countries don't have the ability to launch.
And it doesn't
They
take
can't
that
fly
much.
satellites.
You could just take an iPhone camera and stick it on a flying drone, and now
Pretty
you've got 1080p flying around.
A drone can fly for quite a long period of time.
Right.
What kind of range do you think this has here?
Probably not very far.
Like,
I can't imagine it'd be too far.
It almost looks like just like a glide bomb or something. Do you think it has a tiny little engine in there?
Something, yeah. It wouldn't take much. It doesn't look like it's very heavy.
Could it be possibly just a glider? Just has a little rocket motor to get it up there, and it just glides and falls.
It wouldn't
back
go
down?
very far. You'd be talking like it wouldn't be worth it, because if you're trying to take pictures, it would only be in air for a couple minutes. To make it worth your while, it'd have to
You'd have to
stay
move it
aloft
around
for a few hours at least.
You think it has a little booster and then, it has a little prop in the back that fires off as it gets
Well,
up there?
look at the ass end of it. That looks like a prop. You see, it's got the little
Oh,
little
yeah.
yellow thing. Yeah, it looks like a prop.
Oh, I see it.
How would they pop out
Oh,
of it? They actually can bend in?
You tell me. I don't know.
yeah.
I fly planes. I don't design them.
You can see how everything's on pivots, so everything just kind of pivots out as soon
Right,
as it
yeah,
pops
actually
out.
to fit it in there, sure.
Yeah, and that's how the Tomahawks work. As soon as they pop out of
Right.
the tube, they have the
Right.
wings that pop out.
Huh. Those are interesting. Speaking of China, China and Chile.
It's chilly in China.
Well,
China and Chile.
China is in Chile.
Yeah.
I do believe I saw that China had their first snow recently. So yeah, it's chilly in China, isn't it?
Oh man,
First ever?
I want some good chili.
Or first of the year.
First of the year, yeah.
That would be kind of weird.
So fishing fleets.
Fishing fleets. There you go.
The fishing, I call them fishing militias.
So
by the
Eric,
way.
what do we know about fishing fleets over the last few years?
So the big thing with I guess with anything is China. They've been building these hundreds of fishing vessels that will go around in legal fishing areas as close as they can to X country, and from what I've seen, they are basically just reaping the land. They're just scraping everything from. I mean, they just have just a net from the top to the bottom, and they are just reaping everything that they can, and it's causing a lot of weird, issues because they're legally allowed to do it, right? We do these freedom of navigation,
Right, of course.
through the middle of fucking
And-
China, Taiwan,
Yeah,
all the time.
as long as you're in international waters, they can fish wherever they want, really.
They can do whatever they want. And so what they've done is, like, if you looked at, I think it was Ecuador, they had this circular area outside of the land that was, it was like a World National Heritage Site where you could
Okay.
not fish there. And they had bumped up their fishing vessels almost around the
way?
bottom quarter of the circle. I mean, perfectly outside of this GPS spot, and they just reaped everything outside the circle.
Yeah.
And they took everything, and now they've moved down to Chile.
So-
and now they're starting to do the same thing.
When it comes to fishing, right, countries have something called EEZ. We all know what an EEZ is, right? It's an
Right.
economic exclusion zone, and that's supposed to be set aside for the country to do what it pleases with: oil, natural gas, fishing, what have you. Any minerals in there,
Right.
any resources, that's supposed to be theirs. China has always
Just have-
disregarded EEZs,
Yeah.
especially in the South China Sea. International waters start 12 miles off a country's land, but EEZs can sometimes go out to 200, 250.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a set number. It might be 200, 250. I'm not quite sure.
I've always heard 200
Yeah.
nautical miles.
And
I think it's weird some of those areas where is my voice being picked up?
yeah, some areas
Okay.
where it can't quite go out that far.
Yeah.
They'll border.
It'll get weird like in the Middle East and stuff like that, right?
Well, in the
the
South
Persian
China
Gulf.
Sea. Some
There,
places in the
especially,
South China Sea, like near the Philippines and Vietnam, and that
especially
area.
near all those disputed islands too, right?
Yes, and if you the key is right. So an EEZ is 200 nautical miles out of the boundaries of a country
Right.
or their claims. So therefore, if you have an island in the middle of the South China Sea, you've now got a 200 nautical mile ring
Around that, yeah.
around that, and there goes why another reason why China is making artificial islands out there.
Right.
And then what are they supposed to do? Do they divide? So say it's exactly 200 miles, or
You can find
say
a
it's
map,
exactly
yeah.
200 miles from a Chinese island to the Philippines. Would they each take 100 miles? Is it supposed to divide perfectly, or is there kind of some arguments there?
I'm not up to what the current policies say. China has in the past disregarded all of it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll just pop an island up and just take all your shit. I don't think there's any real sharing.
No, especially
Like-
in this region that is showing on Google Earth right now, there is no one is playing by the rules. I wouldn't think in this area here, or at least if people are trying, China's disregarding it. Anyways,
And these islands are all weird too. I mean, the Philippines have some islands out here. The ROC.
And I'm
Is
sure.
that right?
I'm
Does Taiwan have a? Taiwan controls this?
I don't know.
No, that's a. We must have that marked wrong. That's controlled by the Philippines.
I just want to say thanks to the Quantum Potato for the £5 super chat.
Ooh,
5 pounds. Yeah.
That's like $1,000 American.
Yeah, we got the UK money coming in.
I can get a couple of bagels.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to give it to you.
Yeah, we got to give it all to Ryan tonight.
But speaking of that, maybe we could jump in the middle here and just promote your Patreon. If you guys like Ryan, he does some incredible work, stuff that I can never do. I can never stay this up to date on all this stuff.
No way. No
I like
way.
to sit back and I collect information from you, from people like Tyler, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And then
you
I
just
can
take
think
our
about it for a
you
while.
just take our shit
I
and
steal it,
yeah.
and I make the money.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
make
you
the
make
big
all the
bucks.
money. Exactly.
Yep. And then I just, pander your Patreon a little bit, and I feel good about myself, and I can sleep at night.
Yeah, and you have me over and you treat me nice, and then you send me home and you start doing it again.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway, if you can, go check out his Patreon. We won't even mention ours right now. Strategic Strat Sentinel. at patreon.com. If you just Google it, I think that's all I did. Strat Sentinel, Patreon, you'll find it. And if you're in a position, help him out a little bit. He doesn't make much from all the work he does, so it's going to help him.
This is a good segue, kind of talking into like what do you have going on right now?
So mainly just the Patreon. I've been focusing a lot on my job right now. I'm a full-time flight instructor, which has been eating into my time spending on Strategic Sentinel. But I still do daily. Everybody who is a Patreon, if you're a part of the Know-It-Alls, you do get an email 5 days a week, every evening or every morning whenever I can get it out. And it's a big update. I do an analysis of what I can. And then once a week, I do a weekly update and put everything together and let you know what's going to happen, what I think for the coming week or the month or whatnot. So I've had a lot of fun ever since I set it up. I didn't think many people would come by, but
that's cool.
We've got a couple of patrons there, and it's a lot of fun. It certainly have helped me keep more up to date. But like I said, I'm hoping to re-spend some more time back into Strategic Sentinel. Now that things are starting to quiet down at my full-time job.
Is it just you writing, or do you have other people that
it's
come
just
help
me.
you?
No, right now it's just me. I do have a few people with me, but as far as writing the newsletters and taking care of the Twitter, that's all me right now.
Nice. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with the news. It's one of the things that I always try to do because I'm one of the main, I guess, I don't know, like tout my horn, or like a submarine influencer. Most people don't keep up with the submarine news, and I try to do the best I can, and like when the San Juan went down, I had to take 3 days off of work. I mean, it took so much of my time to just try to keep everybody up to date because everybody was coming to me with this information that they weren't going to like the news with because they just didn't know where to go with it. And OSINT was still a little bit younger back then because it was like 2016.
Yeah, about 2016 is when I started Strategic Sentinel, and it was really just us and a few others. It didn't really grow until about 2018. That's when it really exploded.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I say 2016. I don't think that's the right year. But anyways, I'm sorry. But
well,
anyways,
it's about 2016 is when things started to kind of kick off on Twitter.
Yeah,
at least.
it's really been blowing up a lot more lately, and that's why we really wanted to do the podcast, is because we wanted to have this very technical version of kind of what his Greg's YouTube channel is.
Sure, yeah.
Right. He has the kind of like the general overview of what it is, and then we can step back and do this podcast and actually meet people and get a lot more technical and try to keep everybody up to date with whatever is going on.
Thank you, Quantum Potato, for becoming a patron, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah,
I want part of that.
Well, you should join. I mean, just bring the money towards me. All the millions of dollars you're making off of your YouTube, you can share just a little bit, right?
Yes, millions.
All the millions of rubles.
You guys have no idea how hard it is making money off of the stuff that we do.
Yeah, that's the tough thing. It's difficult to try to figure out how to monetize it, right?
It's so difficult
with the subreddit, with Twitter.
You would think I have 90,000 followers. You would think it would be easier.
If they all gave you $1,
they all gave me $1 a month.
$1.
It's just
a
so
month.
much. It's just so much easier.
You'd
to
have
get
like
sports.
$50 a month then.
I know, right?
Yeah, or so I'm not good at that.
But I don't know. It's from what I can see, it's just easier to get into sports than it is to try to get in the military because there's just so much more shit that goes on with the military. You can just watch the Cowboys play the Redskins. Oh, they're not the Redskins anymore.
You can't say that.
The Washington team.
There's a lot there's a lot to know, and I flub up. I get things wrong all the time. I remember things wrong. So and when you do something wrong, you say something wrong on accident. I mean, we're not going to do anything on purpose.
Right.
They let you know.
Yeah.
People
sure.
let you know when you've done something wrong. So
I mean, I think we talked about this the first time we talked to you, but it's going to be so difficult to sort through.
It is
all
difficult
the
to
BS.
sort. Yeah, you've had me on 4 times now. This is the 4th time, so
And
I must be special somehow.
Somehow.
Haven't
Haven't figured it out yet.
No, we haven't figured that one out.
No,
it's
but
really hard
it's
to
going to be
sort.
so difficult to sort through,
It is.
especially with stuff like Azerbaijan going on right now. There's so much stuff
Right,
like the
and what
S-300 getting hit.
That
and all
subject
that
we were
stuff.
talking about, right? And
Like-
again, it's hard to know what's fact and what's fiction.
Because you can get a bunch of followers just claiming some stuff real quick because people want the
Oh,
knowledge. They
and,
want it right now.
Of course, and I know a Twitter account that does that right now.
Oh, yeah? You want to name it?
It shall not be named.
Okay.
I'm not looking to have papers
Shall not
served to me.
And then I know a few of those too. And when they're wrong, then they'll just delete it and pretend like nothing happened, right?
Right.
But they'll get the followers. They got, the followers are still there.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
But,
and they can churn out.
it's
And
tempting.
another issue that we've actually run into recently is really good OSINT accounts that produce really good information have started becoming political.
Yeah.
And I that's kind of sad for me. I don't like to see that.
It's just that
It's really
time of the
turned me
year.
off.
Yeah, it's
Well,
that time
not,
of the
election.
year.
not even in before then though. It was
Even
still
before then?
yeah.
It's been tough
I
with
wish-
politics recently.
It's that crack cocaine. You
Yeah.
know what I
It's
mean?
that
Like,
quick-
ooh man, I could just make that.
Like,
quick
look at how
money.
stupid the other side is. You know,
Yeah.
they're wrong.
Yeah.
How can they possibly? They're evil. They're horrible.
Because when you do that, you'll get 40% more followers,
Oh,
but
sure.
you're going to lose 40% of everybody that's ever going to follow.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're just
Short
making
term.
a deal with the devil, which is okay if you wanted. And there's really no turning back after that. I mean, everybody's just going to say you're biased.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I tried very hard, very, very, very hard to
To
stay
do
away
nothing
from that.
political.
Well, and that's what we try to do here is because we do a lot of military work, and especially in America, it's really easy to just tie us in to the Trump campaign because we work with the military stuff, and we don't want anything to do with any of that shit, right?
Right.
We want to be unbiased and just give you guys the best information that we can without doing that. We will tie politics in if we have to,
Yeah.
obviously. But we're not going to say, hey, this is what I'm glad that this guy's doing this thing because it's blah blah.
When it comes to politics, I have a strict policy where I'll only talk about politics if it directly correlates with national security.
Yeah.
Because obviously, because what we do is inherently political,
Right.
but I can stay out of politics unless it directly correlates. If it directly correlates, then of course I've got to talk about it. But other than that,
Yeah, we flirt with it.
You lose your
Yeah.
subject if it's
Exactly.
if it's religion, sex, abortion, all that stuff that's just completely
Hot
just
button topics. Yeah.
There's no real answer. We're all trying to learn all this shit. You just lose everybody.
A cannon fodder said something very valid. He said the misinformation being slung around about the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan is staggering. That happens every time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everything,
time.
every
Any
subject.
conflict that happens, right?
And I'll say now that if I mess up and get something wrong, an accident, some detail, I apologize for that. But there are a lot of actors out there who are doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah, and you can see with like all of the American military social media, they're really pushing against bots. Like especially Canada for whatever reason. I don't know why Canada's pushing so bad against bots, but they're really trying to get rid of
Who's
them.
the admiral that runs the Twitter account for the Navy?
Oh, Charlie Brown.
Yes, yeah, him especially. Oh,
Yeah.
he's always on Twitter saying that social media is something that needs to be.
Oh no,
Understood.
it is literally a national security issue because it's a literacy problem, right?
Right.
Because it's like imagine you can't read. You got a whole nation of people that can't read, and somebody throws a whole bunch of books out there.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody knows what they're really looking at. People are just trying to pick through it, and they're just gonna pick through it the wrong way because there's no actual literacy in that thing. And that's what you're seeing now with social media and just people just following whatever bullshit they see on Facebook, Twitter, right? It's a literacy problem. Like we have to start teaching people how to read again, with the internet. Because it's just, you could just flood yourself all day with information where before you had to go find it.
Right. This misinformation thing is not going away. We saw it come to a head in 2016, and it stuck around.
Right.
It was there before then, but now it's very much in your face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's nothing else you can really do. Like you just have to keep pushing to people that this is a literacy issue. Just if you keep practicing and you learn that people are trying to lie to you, and that everything seems amazing, you just can't faithfully follow something online anymore.
No, you can't.
Maybe back in the day you could find a good pastor that was real faithful, and you could do that thing with that. Sure, but not anymore. I mean, there's just so much agenda, and trying to find something online, you might as well just assume that it's bullshit, and they're just trying to make money off of you, because that's all we're trying to do, right? All of it. This is why we're here right now, right? We're trying to make money. To be honest, right?
And,
I mean, I love doing this shit, but I want to try to not have a real job anymore, right?
And it would.
How
be
many times have I said that?
Can you imagine how much easier it'd be for us if we fell into that? Because
Man.
that's how you make the money.
Right.
You become partisan and you pander to whatever will make you the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be.
Go Trump.
I know I'd be a
Go
millionaire right
Biden.
now.
Yeah.
Anyone. Just
Yeah.
pick one. Flip a coin.
Yeah.
I'd be a millionaire
You got
right
half
now
the
if I did
country
that.
Joe
I'm
Jorgensen,
sure.
right?
Yeah, Joe Jorgensen.
There you go.
Green Party.
Then maybe I only have 5% then.
Yeah.
Or whatever they never get more than 5%. So the last one here, did you want to bring up the Seawolf?
So yeah, at lunch today we were talking about the Seawolf class.
That was a fun conversation.
I'm kind of a sub nerd, and then of course Eric served on subs, so I love talking about subs.
So what is the Seawolf?
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, so you got 3 Seawolf submarines in the class. You have the Seawolf, you have the Jimmy Carter, and you have the Connecticut.
And the Jimmy Carter's kind of its own class, almost.
Right.
Subclass.
Yeah, it's a subclass.
It's kind of the stretch
subclass.
The stretch version.
Yeah, the subclass. Yeah.
Right. It's the stretch version of the Seawolf, so it does extra stuff beyond.
They do like tapping and secret missions and all that kind of weird stuff. And
I mean, I guess I have no idea. To
Research
be honest.
type stuff.
I mean, whatever they want to advertise that they do. Where the Seawolf itself, the actual USS Seawolf, is more of a kind of the F-22 of the submarine world. So it's a very, it has a lot of weapons. It has 8 torpedo tubes. It's a very unique submarine. It's gotten a lot of flack over the years. In the submarine world, it's always been kind of what we call a pier queen, where it just sits on the pier all the time. It's always
like the
getting work
USS
done.
Blue Ridge.
Yeah, or or I hate to say it, but the Boise.
Boise, yeah.
Well, the thing about the Seawolf though is that I think people misunderstand what the Seawolf was. It is kind of an experimental thing. I think they were trying to push the Virginia class with that being a platform, but I think the reason it was in port all the time and it was always being worked on is because they were always doing new experiments with it.
Yeah,
I think
they were
always
updating
they were always putting new technology on it and testing it to see if the next class, when it does come out, does this actually work?
Yes. Well, and then the Seawolf, when it was developed,
it
was
was meant to replace the LA class, right? It was going to be they were
was
going to build 30.
Well,
of them.
yeah, it was
Right.
meant to replace the LA class. It was supposed to be the premier hunter killer, and it was meant to size up the improved Akula 2.
Right.
And the supposed Akula 3.
Right.
That's what it was supposed to meet, and then of course the Cold War.
I mean, to
fell
me,
apart.
it's literally the submarine F-22 because it's
Yeah.
like we went to the air show today, and what did you say? The F-22 is this sleek thing, right? Go ahead. Tell me
Yeah.
what you said.
Well, we
I
were
said
talking-
the F-22 looked like how I looked when I was 22. Thin,
Right.
looked real quick and fast,
And-
real maneuverable,
And
all that.
now
Then
you
the
look like
F-35.
the F-35, very
Yeah,
chonky.
I know. I'm getting there. Overweight, not as maneuverable, can't get around as easily.
Right,
Yeah.
because the Navy wanted something more multi-role. They have
the
this hunter
Marines wanted
killer,
the vertical launch or vertical takeoff, and
but most people, I think that they think that if a naval war is going to pop off, it's going to be done. Right, shit's just going to really go down. Or you could do land strikes all day with TLAM. So they went with the Virginia. They went from the 8 torpedo tubes to 4, and then added in all of the vertical launch.
that's the crazy
Right.
thing about the Seawolf class, right? 8
Right.
tubes.
8
Eight-
tubes.
eight-
Yeah,
whole tubes.
Eric, you served on a submarine. Would you enjoy running 8 tubes?
Not as a torpedo man. Absolutely not. There's
See,
no
and that's
fucking way.
what Eric. That's what you were. You were a torpedo man.
Right. So it would suck for me, but if I was a captain and I needed to go
You
out
had-
there and do
yeah,
this thing,
you had a bunch
fuck
of
yeah, I
options.
want 8
Yeah.
tubes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And
Anybody
not-
who's played
and not-
Cold Waters will tell you
Yeah.
they want 8 tubes.
And you
right?
can load not only torpedoes in there, you can load
You can load
harpoons.
TLAMs.
Or Tomahawks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were talking about, so you read something, I haven't seen this, but you were talking about how the future class might kind of go back to that. Might go back, maybe go back to having 8 tubes, maybe be more focused on naval warfare.
Yeah,
Not
so
necessarily land
the
attack.
actual CNO, Admiral Gilday, said that he does not want a Block 7 Virginia class. He wants a new class that they're calling the SSNX, like they normally
Like they
do.
always do.
And that Block 7 is not going to be a land attack submarine. He does not want another land attack submarine. He wants something that's going to counteract a naval fleet,
China.
which could
Almost
go
certainly China.
So essentially
Right.
China.
Which I
Yeah.
think that could go 2 ways, right? You could either have a lot more TASMs, which would be an easy, quick
you
way
could have
out.
2 sets of tubes. You could have fore and aft tubes.
Right, but the thing
vertical
about
launch
Tomahawks, they're you can shoot them out of the sky. You can you can chaff them out of the air. There's a lot of ways to get around them. Where if you have
Can't do
8,
much with a torpedo.
if you have 8 torpedo tubes, you're not getting away from a Mark 48. There's no way, absolutely not. Those things they're gonna win.
Well, that's the whole reason. There hasn't been like a new torpedo. The Mark 48 is the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because they have the
I
sea.
mean, they've upgraded the hell out of
They've
it.
they've upgraded the hell out of it,
but-
right? But they haven't. There's not a Mark 49.
No.
Yeah, they're just fine tuning the.
There's a Mark 52.
I mean,
There's a
they're
Mark
just
4, but-
they're going 3 millimeters each way now. I mean, they're not really fine tuning anymore. It's just right there.
Yeah.
like that's what they want. I think he wants torpedoes. I'm hoping. I don't know.
I think you're a little biased.
Yeah, I mean, I am,
You're not getting away from that.
and I'm not Congress either. I'm not going to have to
Right.
try to fund an entire.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole new build again. I mean, because they didn't take that Seawolf 8 tube setup because it's fucking expensive and torpedo tubes fail a lot.
Can you adapt stick with the design of the Virginia and somehow put 8 tubes in there? Or no? You think
I
that's
don't
just
think
impossible?
it's not big enough.
It's not big enough.
Not with VLS. I don't think you can.
Can you
You'd have to
remove the
take the
VLS
you'd
and
have to
then
take
make
the-
8
No,
tubes?
no. I mean,
You'd
you
have
could.
to design one from scratch.
You'd
you're
have to
saying.
take the whole front of the boat off.
Yeah, you'd have to take off the 4.
Well, they've done that
VLS.
before. They did that with like the George Washington, right? The first ballistic missile subs. They just cut them in half, put a missile section.
Well,
in
and now they're putting VLS back behind the sail.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you could have VLS behind the sail and 8 torpedo tubes.
Yeah.
But remember, the more
You're gonna have a
dynamic the
real long
machine is,
submarine.
The more things it has to break.
And
we
it's-
say this all the time in aviation when I'm flying. People want to fly the latest and greatest. They want to fly the Garmin G1000, but I just had to screw with this airplane and fix it, and we didn't know what the hell's wrong with it because it's so
Yeah.
damn complicated.
It's like cars today too, right? Like it used to be back in the day. My grandpa, he was a mechanic, and he used to take apart car engines, put it back together. And I remember, before he died, he's like, I won't even touch my car. He's like, there's so many computers in there, I don't know what's going on. You need all these computer systems just to be able to find out what's going on with your car. Like,
you have to
can't.
learn how to code, right? I mean, it's
Essentially,
I
yeah.
mean, I hate to say it, like, I mean, my day
That's
job,
everything.
I work on CNCs, and I have to learn how to code. I mean, I didn't want to learn how to do that shit, but I kind of had to, and that's, if you don't do that, now you've lost a portion of what your machine is, right? And now they're smart. I hate to say it, if you don't want to learn how to do that shit, you're going to lose out, right? This isn't the 60s. You're not rebuilding your dad's Mustang anymore, right?
No.
I mean, everything's got code in it, especially when it comes to military. Yeah, of course.
They did?
Yeah.
They started around the 60s, right?
Yes, I actually owned a 66 and a 68 Mustang.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was later 60s.
Yeah.
Alright.
But they had no coding, right? You're just bolting down
Right,
machinery
yeah.
to it, right?
Yep.
Everything's cables. There's no fly-by-wire.
More physical.
Right. There's no wire. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of wiring other than just to the battery and to the dashboard, maybe, and to the radio if you had one.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no air conditioning. There wasn't none of that shit. But now everything's controlled by. You hit auto on your AC,
Yeah,
and now
you
it's
just
got
go
all
back.
kinds of codes that are running.
Of
Or
course.
the car drives for you, right? Like a Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
like I have a basic Ford, and it's got a code that'll, when you hit auto and somebody calls you, all the AC drops and all the fans drop, so they can hear you on the phone call because there's no fans running anymore. That's all just coding.
I think
right?
my car does that, yeah.
Yeah, it's all just
It
coding,
drops
right?
it down off a high.
And now imagine F-35 where you're trying to control a landing,
Yeah.
and vertical thrusting and all this fucking crazy shit that they got going on. I mean, it gets really strong. So I don't know. We're just
It's
ranting
interesting.
on coding, but
No, it's all interesting stuff.
yeah.
I just want to say, cannon fodder. If anybody tries to put a glass flight system inside of a 150, they're wasting their money completely.
Yeah. The other thing, we're going to be out at the air show again tomorrow. I'm going to be
Are we?
out there.
I'll go.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go out there again
We
tomorrow.
have the media passes. Might as well make use of them.
I didn't get to record on our GoPro this
Oh
time.
yeah,
so
you ran
I-
out of space on your.
Yeah, I ran out of space, so I'm going to try to get out there tomorrow and record some stuff. So if you guys are out there, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter or whatever. I'll come hang out
get
with
some
you guys.
pictures and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
So you were also saying about the Seawolves. We haven't been using them a lot, or at least it hasn't been in the media. But now we're deploying
Up
them
in Norway.
up north.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know if they signed a contract with the actual country of Norway or what, but now they're lending their underground, 007 submarine bases to us. So from what I understand, specifically to the Seawolf, I don't know anything about the Virginia class is pulling in or not. I mean, if a Seawolf can pull in, a Virginia class can pull in. But Greg's gonna pull up the war zone so you guys can see it. But yeah, so you can pull in a Seawolf underground,
Look at that.
which gives them a big advantage. We don't have any underground bases in the United States
We figured we never did
that
them,
I can
right?
talk about. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we don't have that, and that gives you all kinds of
You got
defensive
one in Point
capabilities.
Loma there that we don't know about.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's actually off the ground. You have to take an elevator to get there, and all this stuff's pretty crazy.
Olasvern. Well, wasn't that the one they were renting out to a Russian company? Do you remember that?
I do not know.
I'll have to look in that.
All I remember
no
is all I remember about
That's it. Just a
the
picture.
Nordic countries
Oh,
and
that's
Russia is the whale that they trained.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure if you go
We
through,
talked to Sutton about that.
I'm
but-
sure if you go to Tyler's website, he's probably all got it figured out. But
Yeah, they were renting that one. It was an old NATO. You can read through all this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, China's been doing a lot of that, right?
well,
China has underground berths for their submarines.
yeah, they got Yulin, but that's
Yeah,
for their
Yulin.
ballistic missile subs, which is even bigger. right? And they're good at they have like earth
Got it all
powers
mapped
that we
out
don't
here.
have. You know, they can just dig out earth all day, every day.
You got an entrance right here. You can
Yep.
see.
Yeah,
And finally caught a picture of a submarine entering that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Coming in and out.
Yeah.
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 And then this whole thing, I mean, this whole mountain here is all underground stuff.
It's
You
all-
can see
yeah.
tunnel entrances over here on this side.
Yep.
Like these are going into it.
Yeah, there's
Here,
like
here.
vent holes. If you look really close, you can see vent holes and all
Up on
kinds of
top?
stuff. Yeah,
I'm sure, yeah.
yeah. If you dig in deep enough.
These little, I mean, nature doesn't make squares, right?
Nature does not make
Perfect
squares.
No.
Oops, what happened?
Yeah, supposedly that thing's supposed to be pretty deep and pretty, 3 or 4 stories high inside, so they can change out because you have to be able to pull the ballistic missiles out.
And they have this, I don't know what this is. This is like a like some sort of train
It's to
thing
transport the
here, too.
missiles.
And, it's covered all the way.
Yeah, so
And
you
I,
can't.
and I followed it. And then it goes into another.
Yeah.
Goes into
So
the side of another one.
That's underground storage. There's all
Right.
this is all underground storage. So they say
Yeah.
fuel tanks, but I don't know if that's necessarily fuel tanks. That could be an access point for all this underground storage. They're storing everything underground. Everything on that base is underground. The missiles, everything besides the personnel, areas.
whereas the U.S., like in up there in Bremerton, they just pull the missiles right off the semi trucks onto the submarines.
Yeah, or like Kings
Or
Bay. There's an
But they have a
actual
covered
carport.
They have
you
a
know?
covered. Yeah, they have
Yeah,
a
but-
covered carport basically. Yeah.
Yeah, a big old hangar cover, but
The U.S. just got cocky. We're 3,000 miles away from anyone who's a threat, right?
Yeah. I
Whereas
guess.
Norway, they got to build underground stuff, Same thing
Yeah.
with China.
I mean, Russia's fucking with Norway all the time, and so I think that's what to get back to your point. I think Norway wanted help, and so we sent the Sea Wolves out there because they're big badass motherfuckers and they're scary. I mean, out of everything we have, the Sea Wolf's old, but it's still a bad motherfucker, man. If you put the Sea Wolf out, it's like an F-22 versus an F-35 at this point. I mean.
In a dogfight?
An F-35 is going to win a few times, but that F-20, I'd put my money on the F-22 all day,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fight my 22-year-old self.
I don't want the all-purpose version, right?
Yeah, they have a couple. You can see a couple of their boomers here, right?
Yep.
And
Just Russian knockoffs, basically.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing too is China. The continental shelf expands pretty far out along, right? It's hard to get a submarine to sneak out here. This is real shallow, a couple hundred feet.
Well, here, that's a good
Like
question,
nothing.
Eric.
This is as close as you're going to get to the end of the continental shelf, and you could go deep and then get out of there.
That's a question because the continental shelf actually extends pretty far out on the east coast. So, Eric, what's
Yeah.
kind of like the operating procedure there? Do you have to spend a lot of time on the surface there?
No, I mean, it depends on the depth, and it depends on where you're at. Like, if we're on if we're next to China and we're doing operations there, I don't give a fuck if it's 200 feet. We're not going to pop up. Like, we can't let them see us.
Well, right, but I mean,
But the thing is, I think a lot of people are not giving credit to China on the fact that I think people are starting to have been taking all the SOSAS technology for a long time, and I think they've got all that covered.
I'm sure
in
they do.
hydrophones.
And it's unfortunate that the U.S. decommissioned their SOSA system.
Yeah, I mean, well, we got IUSS and all this new stuff, but I think China's going to be using hydrophones to detect everything that's floating in and out of there because it's shallow enough that they can put something
Sure,
there,
of course.
right?
And so you can see what I'm talking about. The continental shelf on the eastern coast extends pretty far out.
Oh yeah,
Right.
a couple hundred miles, but
Right.
you have nothing to worry about here. China's not going to be right up along the coast detecting boomers going in and out of Kings Bay.
Well, and when I went
over
into the
here.
Navy, we did the 60-40 split, right? So we had more assets on the East Coast, and so the Navy was like, no, we got to get everybody over to the West Coast. So that's why our boat went from Norfolk to San Diego, so that we could be over there for everything that's going on
Right.
the Pacific side.
And now they're doing a whole bunch over here, right?
Now
They
they're
got
doing it
Bangor.
again. They're still doing it again. They're moving back over. The Sea Wolf was the one that was really odd because it was the only one that was really moving back. And nobody really understood why, but now we kind of get it. I think they're using it as just like a poker against Russia.
There we go. Look at that. We got an Ohio class.
I mean, because if they fuck up any boat, the one thing that Russia does not want to fuck with is the Sea Wolf. They're going to get
An ass whooping from hell?
I mean, you talk about stirring up the people. There's going to be a giant bee's nest that's going to get stirred up, whereas they take out, the Hampton or some name that doesn't really make any sense. I hate to say it, but
Yeah. And then 8 tubes. How you gonna, Again, I think that's all geared toward China and their carrier strike groups they're going to start building.
Yeah.
8 tubes, you can just launch one at each one, and a couple are going to hit.
Yeah.
Eric, yes, Eric, could you please draw the routes you used on this map? Okay.
So
I'll have him do
I
that
asked you
tonight.
what the standard operating procedures were for coming in and out of those shallow waters. That's
Can
what
you
it's
draw
all
the
about.
exact route?
Yeah,
you
we
guys
want
took?
the exact routes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do that.
So out of San Diego, you guys went from Point Loma, and then no, okay.
Just follow Warship Cam. I mean, he'll tell you everything that's coming in and out of there.
Yeah.
If you really want it. Just use your
see it
OSINT.
all live too.
Use
right?
your OSINT. But yeah, I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. I was an A-ganger. I was a mechanic. I wasn't paying attention to that shit. I couldn't tell you anything about any of that stuff, to be honest.
Anyway, I think we have to wrap up here. Unfortunately, Ryan has to start heading his way back home, right?
It's getting a little late. Yeah, it's coming up to 7 here.
You got a
And
3-hour drive back.
7 here in the lovely DFW Metroplex.
Hell yeah, man. Well,
But
thanks
check
for
'em
hanging
out.
out with us, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Hell yeah.
Strategic Sentinel on
You-
Twitter.
You can follow me on Twitter, and you can follow my personal account at Whiskey 5 Romeo Kilo Bravo. I'm also a ham radio operator.
Oh.
And
Ooh, there
Eric,
you go.
we were
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah, we
that,
were
right?
talking about radio
y'all should get
operators
your
the other day.
certificates.
You have to
yeah.
get a certificate. I was going to say,
Yeah,
you
it's
have
a
to get a
license.
license or
There's
something,
3 levels: tech, general, and amateur extra.
right? Huh.
We want to track like nuke radio signals and shit.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing is, I want something I can do really quick. I don't want to spend like my entire life trying to learn this stuff.
It's pretty easy. You can do it in a week.
Oh yeah.
You can learn. You can take the test within a week after studying.
Do you have to buy a bunch of equipment?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to buy anything.
Can I use my iPhone to just like pick up all this shit like with a cheap app?
There's websites that will broadcast that stuff.
Sure, there are. Yeah, well, like
You can
WebSDR.
listen to. Yeah, exactly.
You can buy. I mean, this is all amateur stuff. You can do as much or as little as you want. It's kind of like, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's like anything.
God damn, I'm already tied into so much shit. I can't. Don't get me into radio, man.
I know.
Damn it.
You're already buying all this stuff up here. We got to show Ryan all this stuff before
Yeah, we
he
got a
walks
whole
out here.
podcast studio. Oh, Jesus.
Eric's just buying all this submarine memorabilia.
Oh man,
random
yeah, our studio's gonna
clocks.
look great. I'm telling you, it's gonna look
It's
great.
very cluttered.
Yeah, and we just
You saw it? Oh, we haven't showed you yet.
no, we just finished polishing up the last of the cabinetry that's gonna go up, and we're done. All we gotta do is hang it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now we
And
need a
then
camera.
have to get a camera.
We have to buy a
That's
camera,
the
I
most
guess.
important part.
Yeah,
But,
we've went through 2 cameras now, and neither one of them work.
Yeah,
so
there's
now we need to
issues.
buy another one.
We have to hire a 16-year-old.
Yeah, that's what.
Because
we're
somehow these 16-year-old gamers can figure this stuff out better than we can.
doing. Yeah. Anybody at the University of Texas at Arlington, hit us up.
Yeah.
We'll give you some. We'll give you a lot of work. But anyways,
All right, we'll let you wrap up here and start your drive home.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been
Yeah.
fun. Been
Yeah,
fun
it was
weekend. We're
fun.
gonna have to do this again.
oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
We'll come down there to you maybe one time and you could fly us around.
We go to the air show every year.
Yeah, we
so.
should have an airborne live podcast from the air.
Can we live stream from the air?
We literally, as long as your phone has service, we could totally do that.
Oh, because you guys don't fly as
How
high
high
as commercial.
up? Oh,
3,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
3,000 feet, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get signal when we were up at the Golden Knights, and we were like 10,000. I couldn't get anything.
So if we stay low.
Now I was afraid
Yeah.
to drop my phone too out of a fucking airplane.
Yeah.
Fucking kill somebody.
All right.
10,000 feet. All right.
Well, let's wrap
Yeah.
up on here. Everyone, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
know it's kind of haphazard, but we threw it
Thanks for-
together.
Yeah, thanks to anybody who joined into the chat room. I really appreciate you guys. We need the questions and the super chat money. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want to quit my job. I don't want to do a real job
Eric
anymore.
needs to quit his job.
Yes.
So give him money.
All right. You guys enjoy it. Make sure you guys subscribe to our Patreon too. Patreon.com